Part 17. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhenshen. Chapter 161. It was the money my grandma gave me, so I didn't feel bad. Xiaoming directly booked a superior guest room, room number 1. The decorations here are much more magnificent than the ordinary guest room in the mountains last night. There are all kinds of furniture such as tables, chairs, beds, cabinets, etc. in the house, all made of precious wood, exuding their own special fragrance. The curtains and windows are covered with various kinds of high-quality green gauze, brocade, cloth, and silk, and the air of wealth rushes straight into people's eyes. There are many famous calligraphy and paintings hanging on the walls in a staggered manner, which are full of literary atmosphere, but it's a pity that Xiaoming can't recognize any of them. There are also ornaments such as tortoise shells, corals, pearls, and gems everywhere. It already feels a bit like a nouveau riche. To be honest, Xiaoming, a loser, really can't appreciate this room. But it is very suitable for pretending to be cool in front of beautiful women. Xiao Hong and Xiao Lu obviously like this place very much. Looking here and touching there, it feels like a kitten or a puppy just released from a cage. Xiaoming couldn't help but think of the two girls' life experiences. Although they were here to monitor him, he still felt sympathy for them. You two can sleep here tonight. Xiaoming pointed to his big bed and ordered Xiao Hong and Xiao Lu. Hearing this, the two girls blushed. This kind of high-class guest room is a suite, with a partition and bed specially for maids. Xiaoming let them sleep in the master's big bed, which clearly meant that the two girls were going to sleep with him. Although they had prepared themselves in their hearts, they still felt shy when the time came. They were hesitant, and no one knew what they were thinking. Then Xiaoming's next sentence made the two girls know that they had misunderstood Master Zhang's meaning. I want to enter the secret realm to practice martial arts, and I won't sleep tonight. You two don't have to wait for me. Master, *2. Xiao Hong and Xiao Lu's faces turned redder, and they felt shy, embarrassed, and a little disappointed. They called Master together, and didn't know what to say. This was the effect he wanted. Xiaoming was indeed teasing them on purpose. Seeing that the goal was achieved, Xiaoming laughed and disappeared. The secret realm refers to Xiaoming's housekeeper space, Guangmingding. On the way down the mountain just now, Xiaoming briefly introduced it to Xiao Hong and Xiao Lu. With the skills of this ghost and a demon, there is no need to worry about the housekeeper who is invisible outside being discovered by them. Professional mismatch. Of course, Xiaoming can't just ignore the matter of grandma. It's just that it's inconvenient to act with Xiao Hong and Xiao Lu around. Although the skills of these two are not good, they are much higher than Xiaoming. So after thinking about it, Xiaoming thinks that he can only use Guangmingding. As a housekeeper space, Guangmingding must follow the housekeeper's mind beast. Xiaoming hid in Guangmingding and commanded the housekeeper to move, and Guangmingding would naturally move with him. I'm really too smart, Xiaoming shamelessly flattered himself. Then he commanded the housekeeper's mind beast to leave Tianzi number 1 room. Grandma probably encountered a big trouble. If the trouble is too big, Grandma will probably drag me down with her. If the trouble is too small, there is no need to rush to send me away. Encountering this opportunity, Xiaoming still wants to try and see if there is any advantage to be gained. The worst result is nothing more than dying in the reincarnation space. The housekeeper's mind beast moves fast. When returning to the mountain along the original route, the battle in the distance can be felt from several miles away. That was Grandma chasing the protagonist and his party. Grandma's magic and Yan Xixia's Taoism stirred up the spiritual energy around Lanruo Temple, and the vibration was very violent. Of course, Xiaoming didn't know who was fighting with Grandma, and it didn't matter, as long as the other party could hold Grandma back. Xiaoming would not go to the most intense battle to seek death. This was the right time to dig out Grandma's lair. Grandma was not there, and the other demons and monsters were still shallow, and their attention was also attracted by the battle. This made the housekeeper's mind beast move as if it was in an empty space. The pavilion was actually a part of Grandma's body transformed. The real core is still under the pavilion, which is the weak spot of the Grandma. This pavilion can only be regarded as skin and flesh. Thanks to this, Xiaoming collected things everywhere in the building without attracting the attention of the Grandma. If the core is really touched, I am afraid that the Grandma will come back directly. Since it is not the core, there are not many good things, most of them are gold, silver, and treasures. Those related to cultivation are just ordinary things, which are the resources provided by the Grandma for the cultivation of her subordinates. Xiaoming does not mind, and concentrates his mind power to his eyes, and all he likes are swept into Guangmingding. Of course, Xiaoming did not just steal things, he also left a lot of good things. Most of them are grenades, and there are also a few C4 bombs. In addition, there is a lot of gasoline. These things cannot be invisible, so they can only be hidden in various corners of the pavilion. As for how to detonate, this time Xiaoming will not blow himself up like he did on Nuwa Star. Xiaoming placed several mind bombs in every place where munitions and gasoline were piled up. The telekinetic bomb is Xiaoming's imitation of the telekinetic ability of the man named Gan Shu in the Hunter's Secret Realm. Now Xiaoming's telekinetic ability is stronger, and there are more types of bombs to make. Now there are remote-controlled bombs and time bombs. Remote-controlled bombs require Xiaoming himself to be within a certain range, which is too unsafe. So this time Xiaoming used a time bomb. The time setting is also very loose. In fact, when the bomb exploded, Xiaoming had already returned to the inn and was chatting with Xiao Hong and Xiao Lu. Suddenly, there was a loud bang that shook the sky and cracked the earth. Modern weapons showed their power in the world of a Chinese ghost story. Huge explosions came in waves. The noise was much louder than the previous battle between Yan Chixia and his grandmother. The residents in the town were awakened. In the distance, red light shot up into the sky, and it was seen that there was a big fire. The whole town basically knew that Lanruo Temple was haunted. Listening to the sound of the explosion and looking at the direction of the fire, it was estimated that it was not far from Lanruo Temple. Such a big thing happened near Lanruo Temple. What impact would it have on the town? For a time, the people in the town were panic. Residents ran out of their homes and filled the streets and alleys. There was a lot of noise. Some brave ones had already taken knives, forks, sticks and clubs and gathered to see what was going on. This was the optimist, who thought that the ghosts in Lanruo Temple might have suffered a disaster and wanted to pick up a bargain. Even the monsters and ghosts dared to pick up the bargain, and they didn't care about their lives. No zo no die why you try. Some ruffians took the opportunity to spread all kinds of rumors and started to smash, loot, and rob in the town. Bullying honest people is safer. Some people even thought that the ghosts were furious because their homes were destroyed. They might rush down the mountain and take their anger out on the people in the town. The best strategy is to run away. Pack up your belongings, take your family and start to flee. Xiaoming sat at the window, watching the chaos in the town. He was filled with emotion. Real men never look back at the explosions, we only look at the various aspects of life. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 162. The chaos in the town made Xiaoming feel upset. Xiaoming is almost 40 years old, and he knows the dark side of human nature. I won't mention those particularly bad things. In his heart, the boss who fired him is a black-hearted person. But in fact, Xiaoming has a lazy personality. His subjective initiative at work is really not very strong. He can only be said to be responsible and will definitely do his job well, but he probably won't take the initiative to do it. The value of this kind of employee is relatively average. Whether he will be fired or not depends on the boss's thoughts. He is not necessarily wronged. Xiaoming is still a person who likes to read books. He is also aware of the dark and evil things that humans have done in history. Although the new Han Kingdom has entered the modern society, there are always shadows under the sun. There are also many dirty things that have happened. It stands to reason that Xiaoming is a little numb. Why is he so uncomfortable this time? It may be because he saw it with his own eyes and felt a different impact. More importantly, he is the initiator of this chaos. All the deaths and injuries in the town should be attributed to him. Even if my grandmother led a group of monsters and ghosts and lived here for so many years, it might not cause such a big loss. Monsters that eat people are like beasts. They all have territories. There is a limit to how large an area can support a beast. The same is true for monsters. If they eat all the humans, they can't survive. So monsters eat people in a planned and controlled way. Even if the people in the territory are in trouble, they have to find a way to rescue them, otherwise the population will be greatly reduced and they will starve, right? Some people may ask, can't they leave? Isn't it enough to change the territory? It's not that easy. There are other monsters occupying other territories. It's difficult to find an unowned land. Xiaoming was very depressed because he had destroyed the town more than the monsters. The reincarnation world is not a secret place in the game. The people here are real humans. Xiaoming is not so cold-blooded that he doesn't care how many people die. If Xiaoming had to do it in a crisis, it would be fine. You can't risk your life. But Xiaoming's explosion was purely to vent his anger, as he had already stolen a lot of good things. There was no need to launch this explosion, or a smaller explosion would have been fine. It wouldn't have caused such a big commotion, and there wouldn't have been so much loss of life and property. Just as Xiaoming was full of regret, there was a clang sound, and the door of the guest room was kicked open, and then the screen was kicked down by the person who came. 7 or 8 big men rushed in with kitchen knives, axes, and other things in their hands. The first one was fat and big-eared, with a face full of flesh, a chest full of black hair, and a bone-cutting knife in his hand. Isn't this the chef of the inn? The chef raised his left hand and threw a bloody head over. He shouted arrogantly, "Boy! Hand over the money and women, and I will spare your life. Dare to say no." He was halfway through his words, but was suddenly blocked. It turned out that the head was about to hit Xiaoming. Xiao Lu waved her sleeves, rolled up the head and took it in her hands, holding it in front of her eyes to look at it carefully. Xiao Hong also came forward to watch with great interest. Although Xiaoming's face was unchanged, he did not show any fear. The calm performance of the 3 people stunned the thugs for a while. "Director, the script is wrong? Why are they not afraid? It doesn't make sense. Look, young master, this is the innkeeper. They killed the boss." Xiao Lu's words seemed to remind these thugs that they had also seen blood on the edge of a knife. The cook's courage returned immediately. "Boy! Don't pretend to be stupid with me, hurry up." Dare to shout at the master, Xiao Hong was very angry, so she waved her sleeves and slapped the cook's fat face, interrupting his words. The cook spurted out a mouthful of blood mixed with 5 or 6 teeth, and fell to the ground with a plop. Several thugs were shocked. What a great strength! Who is this girl? Who was Mr. Zhang? Xiaoming realized that the chaos had spread to the inn. The cook was unruly and led the riot. He took a few waiters and servants, killed the innkeeper, and robbed the guests. This was his own fault. The cook's accomplices had helped him up. The cook now knew that these 3 people were not easy to mess with, so he wanted to say a few polite words and leave. "Okay. You dare to hit me? If you have the guts, don't run away." Didn't he know that it was not appropriate to talk today? Of course, even if he didn't say anything mean, Xiaoming had no intention of letting them go. In the blink of an eye, Several thugs were dead on the spot, and the cook, who was still wide open, couldn't finish his words. Alice, the skeleton knifeman, stood among the corpses, with two bone knives in her hands shining coldly, without a single drop of blood. Xiao Ming also stood up, and he remembered a sentence he had heard before. Good people will apologize for their past mistakes, and great people will correct their mistakes. Greatness has nothing to do with Xiao Ming, but this time Xiao Ming wants to do something to correct his mistakes. And the method he can think of is the scourge of the undead. Don't get me wrong, Xiao Ming is not like Arthas. He just wants to create a scene similar to the night parade of 100 ghosts to scare the residents of the town. If everyone goes back to their houses, no one will dare to cause trouble. Xiao Ming is not very good at fighting, but he is pretty good at pretending to be cool. At least he is good enough to fool these ignorant ancient people. So a large number of skeleton soldiers and zombies appeared, forming a team of undead. There were several terrifying crawler skeleton soldiers in front and behind to scare them. There were also a few ghosts and ghosts floating in the world, actually the ghost Mat and the female ghost Xiaohong. Xiaohong and Xiaolu used magic, which were also some tricks to scare mortals. The whole team of undead was surrounded by black fog and ghostly. At the same time, a loudspeaker was used to repeatedly play a huge sound, the mountains collapsed and the earth cracked, the yin and yang reversed, the Ghost King passed through the border, and the living beings retreated. The Ghost King of the underworld passed by your place, and you living people just need to hide at home and will not harm anyone. This loudspeaker was also harvested in the secret realm of Resident Evil 1. I didn't think much about it at the time and put it into the housekeeper space. I didn't expect it to be used in the world of ancient immortals. Just right for showing off. Such a loud noise seemed more like a fairy trick to the ancients who were not enlightened, which added a bit of credibility. Xiao Ming led such an army of undead to circle the town twice, and everyone hid back in their houses. They were really scared. Although the Ghost King did not see what he looked like, he saw the ghost soldiers and ghost beasts. It was not quite what he thought, but it was more terrifying. The whole world was quiet. When he went to the third circle, Xiao Ming also harvested all the corpses in the town. In just half a day, more than 300 people had died in the town. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 163. Xiao Ming saw that there were no people on the street, so he asked some undead soldiers to guard the intersections. He controlled the residents to not dare to run out. He led a team to patrol everywhere, and continued to ensure that no one would cause trouble again. He also cracked down severely. When he arrived at the door of each household, Xiao Ming would use telekinesis to look inside. He checked the life energy aura of everyone in the house. He would not interfere with the residents of the town, whether good or evil. This round, he only punished the thugs who killed people in the riots just now. He would not even punish those who robbed and stole. If he found a thug who had just killed someone, Xiao Ming would rush in and kill him without a trace. That bloody smell was easy to distinguish, even Xiao Hong and Xiao Lu could see it. Some people killed people in self-defense, and Xiao Ming could distinguish them with telekinesis. It was a pity that there were too few people who fought back in self-defense, because basically they could not survive and were killed by the thugs' accomplices. Although Xiao Ming was the one who started the trouble, these murderers also took the initiative to do bad things. Killing them would be revenge for those who died under their knives. As for his own sins, he would wait until he died to be judged by King Yama. If there is a hell in the real world. Thinking of this, Xiao Ming's mind turned, if that King Yama would judge him. Even if there is a hell, will they be more awesome than the reincarnation space? At most, they are just as awesome, right? Xiaoming doubted that even if he entered the hell after his death, King Yama might not judge him. Of course, Xiaoming was not only maintaining the order of the town and punishing the rioters. In the process of judging the rioters, Xiaoming also took the opportunity to enter many luxury houses and took away a lot of things. Some gold, silver, jewelry, and the like would be enough, not too much. Xiaoming took a lot of luxury goods such as celebrity calligraphy and paintings, antiques and jade. Xiaoming didn't see any of the martial arts secrets, magic weapons, Taoist books, and immortal magic weapons that he really wanted. It is normal if there is none. There are a few defective talismans and magic tools, but their defensive capabilities are not as good as his own telekinesis. There are also slightly sharp swords, which are not even a little bit worse than his own hot-blooded Neza. These things that are of little use to him, Xiaoming picked up some and didn't bother to care about them anymore. The harvest did not meet expectations, Xiaoming muttered a few words greedily, and ended the reincarnation world here. The stay time is up. All the harvests were stuffed into Guangmingding by Xiaoming to avoid the poisonous hands of the reincarnation space. Only the female ghosts Xiaohong and the tree demon Xiaolu were left in the outside world and returned to the reincarnation space with Xiaoming. Excuse me, VIP, do you want to bring Xiaohong, a D-level female ghost, and Xiaolu, a D-level tree demon, into the reincarnation space? Yes. Do you want to invite Xiaohong and Xiaolu to become members of the Mingjing team? No. According to the rules, Xiaohong and Xiaolu will become your followers and follow you anywhere. The follower contract will be deducted from the rating mall. Do you confirm? Okay, confirm. Xiaoming hesitated. According to the space, becoming a follower also requires a contract, and this follower contract is estimated to be doubled by 1, 2, 4, and 8. Is it really good to use the precious contract on the D-level female ghost and tree demon? According to various online novels, you should choose the protagonist-like plot characters as followers, who have super growth potential and can become your right-hand man in the future. But Xiaoming finally confirmed it. He thinks that D-level is not bad for the time being, and he also needs to understand the various characteristics of the followers. At this stage, it is impossible to get the protagonist to be a follower. Xiaohong and Xiaolu can just be the guinea pigs for experiments. It is detected that Xiaohong and Xiaolu have malicious magic. Do you want to remove it? Remove the magic. This is not what Xiaoming expected, and it is also the reason why he did not put the two girls into Guangmingding to smuggle. Items must be put into Guangmingding, otherwise they will be filtered out by the reincarnation space. But the soul should not be filtered out. With this mentality, Xiaoming let the reincarnation space solve the hidden dangers for him. Now he can finally trust them. In the blink of an eye, the three people have appeared in the team space of Mingjing team. Then they came to the water curtain cave in Huaguashan. Xiaohong held an urn, and Xiaolu held a vine. This is the space that found the things that Grandma used to control them. The two girls looked at each other, both at a loss. After a while, they understood their respective situations. It's nothing more than a change of master. From Grandma's subordinates to Xiaoming's followers. Although the new master seems to have a good temper, his strength is too poor. In the hearts of the two girls, it's better to follow Grandma. Following Grandma, they can eat meat, or at least drink some soup. Following Zhang Xiaoming, they can only eat bran and vegetables. But now that things have come to this, they have no choice but to kneel down in front of Xiaoming, asking the young master not to blame them. Although the new master's strength is not good, the power behind him is really strong. Is the reincarnation space something that ordinary people can play with? He easily removed the spell that Grandma cast on them and took back the things that can control themselves. This ability is also extraordinary. I just hope that young Master Zhang has great potential and makes rapid progress. I hope he can make a name for himself one day, so that it won't be a loss for me to be his follower. Xiaoming didn't care about what they thought. A journey of 1,000 miles can reveal a horse's strength, and a person's heart can be revealed over time. After a long time, you will know what is good and what is bad. It is useless to say more now. Waving his hand to let her go, Xiaoming immediately opened the score mall. Unfortunately, it was empty. Didn't they say that it would be refreshed after each world? Xiaoming wanted to rely on this feature to brush more items. As a result, the invitation letter of the random world was not counted. Things with a score of 100 are not that rare for high-level reincarnations. If the mall is refreshed once an invitation letter is used, it would be too unfair to low-level reincarnations. If you don't want to refresh, then don't refresh. I didn't expect this at all. Xiaoming had to be tough and be the fox who couldn't eat grapes. I don't know how much I wanted it before. I thought I found a loophole and could quickly improve my strength. In the end, I was happy for nothing. Forget it, I didn't suffer any loss. It's true that I have to sort out the harvest. The Taoist books that Grandma gave him were all written in classical Chinese, and Xiaoming couldn't understand many of the proper nouns. In addition to the special language of Taoism, there are also many secret codes and secret words invented by the major sects in general Taoist books. The purpose is to make it so that others can't understand it, and only the people can understand it. This is the best way to keep the secrets of the sect. Even ordinary people know how to make a password, so how can the immortals be worse than ordinary people? Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 164. After Xiao Hong and Xiao Lu were subdued by the space, Xiao Ming could finally devote himself to the great cause of cultivating immortals. This is thanks to the grandmother. The Taoist books she gave him were not original, but copied by the grandmother's sect. Xiao Hong and Xiao Lu also knew the secret words used in the books. If it was the original books of the major sects, it would be a mess. Of course, the grandmother was reluctant to give him the original books. Wishful thinking. Checking the gains of this reincarnation world, Xiao Ming was very satisfied and even felt a little full. When he secretly went to the grandmother's lair to search the house, he got a lot of low-level pills, poisons, spells, etc. Of course, the biggest gain was the world settlement after returning. Originally it should be called task settlement, but Xiao Ming was a VIP and had no tasks, so his settlement could only be called world settlement. It's just that the source energy given to Xiao Ming by the settlement far exceeded Xiao Ming's own expectations. Because Xiao Ming also estimated it himself. In a world with such a high level of cultivation, I was thankful to God that I could save my life. I didn't even get to know the main storyline. Although I got a lot of things, they were all not presentable. The reward was really a bit high. I hurriedly asked Qingxinglu why. Could it be that the explosion I made really happened to kill my grandmother? According to the rules of the reincarnation space, I cannot inquire about the impact of the reincarnation on the reincarnation world. Because this involves the plot direction of the reincarnation world, the importance of the characters and other secrets. In order to prevent cheating or scoring, the reincarnation space will not answer such questions. But if time passes, the high-level reincarnation will still figure out the plot. So the plot world of the reincarnation space is constantly updated. Before the reincarnation has ruined the plot, the corresponding world will no longer appear. Recently, the reincarnation world has just undergone a major update. It was only about 200 or 300 years ago. So normally, the space should keep its mouth shut about the details of the reincarnation world. Reincarnationists can only rely on their own experience to guess, which often leads to a slight mistake. However, Xiao Ming's VIP status played a role again. Qingxinglu is still willing to trust VIPs for such matters. So far, in Xiao Ming's eyes, Qingxinglu and the reincarnation space are one, but in fact they are only partially overlapping. So Qingxinglu roughly showed Xiao Ming's score and the impact on the plot. It turns out that the main characters in the world of a Chinese ghost story one are really dead this time. The ones who didn't die are the characters who didn't appear at all, such as the Black Mountain Old Demon. In the original plot, they didn't die, and the grandmother was just seriously injured by Yan Chixia, who was surrounded by the protagonist's halo. The situation this time is slightly different. First of all, in the reincarnation world, the protagonist's halo is not that strong, otherwise why would the reincarnationists come? The grandmother's strength is stronger, and she brought a group of skeleton soldiers and zombies to deal with Yan Chixia, Ning Keichin, and Nai Xiaoqian together. This is the new cannon fodder I got when communicating with Xiaoming. Grandma also refined these undead soldiers a little bit, and their strength is much stronger than Xiaoming's original version. Although it is still not very useful to deal with Yan Chixia, it is more than enough to deal with Ning Keichin and Nai Xiaoqian. Especially the crawler skeleton soldier, which appeared and disappeared, caused a lot of pressure on Ning Keichin and Nai Xiaoqian, and indirectly tied up a lot of Yan Chixia's energy. So much so that when the battle was in full swing, Ning Keichin and Nai Xiaoqian were killed by the undead one after another, and Yan Chixia was dragged down and injured. If it were a normal person, it would be the best time to run away. But the big bearded man was furious, and his blood was surging. He just exploded his small universe and fought with Grandma to a loss. The seriously injured Grandma fled back to her lair, and Yan Chixia, who was also seriously injured, did not dare to chase her. That was someone's lair, and he would die if he rashly broke in. At this point, the fight was almost over, and it was time for everyone to go home and lick their wounds. Unexpectedly, a huge explosion occurred suddenly. Caught off guard, Grandma was injured, and all the monsters were killed. Yan Chixia saw this opportunity, dragged his seriously injured body, risked his life, and ran to kill Grandma. In the last battle, Yan Chixia finally died, Grandma's subordinates were also lost, and he was on the verge of death. This was the result of the tenacious vitality of the grass monsters. At this time, it was impossible for Grandma to recover from her injuries. In addition to waiting to die, there were only two ways to go. One is to escape to the Black Mountain Old Monster. If the Black Mountain Old Monster is willing to help, Grandma still has a chance of survival. LLL Omega, haha, if you want to expect the Black Mountain Old Monster to show mercy, how much water must be in your brain? The other way is to surrender to Zhang Xiaoming. This way out was just paved by Grandma. The purple vine armor that Grandma gave to Xiaoming was made from part of her previous body. It can barely be regarded as a second body. In fact, Grandma left a backup body in the old nest, but it was damaged by the explosion and Yan Chixia, and it was no longer usable. So she had to make do with the purple vine armor. So Grandma used the last bit of her soul to attach to the purple vine armor. At that time, Xiaoming led the undead army to rectify the order of the town. Just in case, he wore the purple vine armor. If the purple vine armor was placed on Guangmingding, Grandma would not have the chance to possess her. However, even if Grandma's soul possessed her, her cultivation would be ruined and she would soon fall into a deep sleep. During the sleep, she could use the purple vine armor to nourish her soul again. After a few decades or hundreds of years, she would probably wake up and practice again. By that time, I'm afraid even most of her memories would be lost. It's almost like reincarnation. This is the best result for Grandma. With her sins, if she goes to the underworld, she will probably be reduced to ashes. There is no chance of reincarnation. If she goes to the Black Mountain Old Demon, even if the other party is willing to help, the Black Mountain Old Demon does not have a body suitable for Grandma. It's possible that Grandma will have to turn into a ghost cultivator and start from scratch. What will her future be like? Moreover, with the Black Mountain Old Demon's personality and style, he is more likely to take advantage of her misfortune. In this way, it is safest to possess the purple vine armor and stay with Xiaoming, a newbie in the world of immortal cultivation. When my soul is asleep, I guess Xiaoming's master may not be able to find me unless he checks carefully. After I wake up, I can pretend to be the newly born spirit of the purple vine armor. With the cultivation methods preserved in my memory and the purple vine armor's body that suits me, it is not difficult to practice my cultivation again. If I am lucky, I may be noticed by Master Zhang, and then it will be a blessing in disguise. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 165. It can only be said that Grandma thought of almost everything and chose a method that she thought was most suitable for her. It cannot be said that her IQ is low. But the only thing she didn't expect was that Xiaoming's backer was so terrible that there was no reason. It's really not that she is stupid. The reincarnation space handles things strictly according to established procedures and rules. At least most of the functions are like this. Grandma's soul hid in the purple vine armor and fell asleep. The purple vine armor was stored in Xiaoming's private territory, Guangmingding. So at the beginning, Grandma was very successful. She didn't face the reincarnation space directly, and she easily concealed Xiaoming's telekinesis. But after Xiaoming arrived at Huiguo Mountain, he took out all the gains in the world of a Chinese ghost story and dried them out, sorted them out, and boasted about them. Huiguo Mountain is the personal space given to the VIP Xiaoming by the reincarnation space. Any intelligent creature, soul, is prohibited from entering without permission. As soon as the purple vine armor appeared in Huiguo Mountain, the space immediately rejected the Grandma's soul, but the Grandma's soul had nowhere to go, so the only remaining soul was wiped out. The purple vine armor nourished by the Grandma's soul has greatly improved its potential, and it will be easier to evolve into a weapon spirit in the future. If it is just a curse or sorcery, the threat level is too low. Instead, it will not trigger an attack from the space. Only unauthorized souls will, and the reincarnation space has strict restrictions on things like smuggling. Not everyone can be a VIP. For things like this, the space is just mechanically executing according to the rules, and it will not even report to Xiaoming. There are too many, and it can't be reported at all. Just like the nine-tailed fox has to wipe Xiaoming's ass every day and block some explorations from all directions. When Xiaoming enters the reincarnation space, he also enters a place of right and wrong. Intentional or unintentional reconnaissance, attacks, and temptations happen almost every moment. It's as common as breathing, so the space won't bother the reincarnators for such a small matter, let alone the VIPs. This time, Grandma is also unlucky, she is extremely unlucky. She actually encountered a bug like Xiaoming. In terms of strength, Grandma can crush a million Xiaomings. But she was tricked to death by him by accident, and the most annoying thing is that Xiaoming himself almost didn't know it. Originally, the arrangement of the reincarnation space for the reincarnation was not Xiaoming's way of playing. If Xiaoming was a little more serious, he would be able to find traces of pedestrians walking near the place where he landed. Those who left those traces include Yan Chixia, Ning Keichin, Xiahe swordsmen, hunters in the town, residents who cut wood. Following a certain trace, Xiaoming has the opportunity to be involved in the plot normally. As a result, Xiaoming strolled in the wilderness, ignoring the traces left by those pedestrians, and ended up visiting the monster's lair. The fundamental reason is the mentality. No reincarnationist is like Xiaoming, strolling leisurely in the reincarnation world. Which reincarnationist is not trembling with fear and treading on thin ice? Only Xiaoming can make such a mistake. Not only did he mess up the plot, but in the end he even indirectly caused the four main characters in the world of a Chinese ghost story one to all receive box lunches. Instead, he achieved a very high achievement. So the source energy reward Xiaoming received far exceeded his own expectations. It made his green source energy seedling grow nearly 10 times, almost 10 centimeters tall. 3 cm rightward arrow 10 cm, not 10 times, because the growth of source energy is not only about height, but also about thickness. It seems a bit dirty to say this. Of course, if Xiaoming has the ability to kill the 4 main characters himself, the reward can at least be multiplied several times. Unfortunately, it is just a daydream. After watching the plot review, Xiaoming sighed. The butterfly effect proposed by scientists is indeed not just a casual remark. In the plot, if Yan Chixia and others were not completely unfamiliar with the combat methods of the undead army, especially the weirdness of the creeper skeleton soldiers, it would not be so easy for them to sneak attack and kill the male lead Ning Ketichin. Speaking of which, this little brother is so handsome, and he is really a good match for Xiao Qian. It's a pity that he was killed by a claw of the creeper. After Ning Ketichin died, Xiao Qian didn't want to live anymore. So the female lead gave up her ghost life. Xiaoming thinks it's understandable. After all, such a handsome boyfriend died. Then the male second fought hard, and the female second was unlucky and died cleanly. Xiaoming, who was watching the show, had a calm face. The supporting role has no human rights. The fact that things finally developed to this point can only be regarded as a coincidence. Similar coincidences rarely happen to normal reincarnations. First of all, Xiaoming had to die and come back to life several times in the hands of the grandmother. Xiaoming used 31 resurrection stones, which means a score of 310. The basic score of the novice task is only 10 points. It's too extravagant to spend 310 points on such things. Even if a normal reincarnationist has accumulated so many resurrection stones, it is impossible to spend them like this. That would cost him a lot. Besides, a reincarnationist who can afford so many resurrection stones should be strong enough. It is not so easy to be killed by the grandmother. Moreover, the grandmother will generally let people with certain strength go. Naturally, there will be no subsequent things. Xiaoming doesn't care so much, as long as his reward is enough. He divided most of the various gold and silver items into the water curtain cave as a deposit. Xiaoming quickly left the reincarnation space. Only a short time passed in the real world, but Xiaoming has been in the reincarnation world for 3 days. He is a little homesick. According to Xiaoming's estimation, Xiao Jing'er and Zhang Wen will definitely not sleep. They are probably killing time in the secret realm and waiting for him. Xiaoming has a lot of experience in cultivating immortals, and he also wants to share it with the two of them immediately. In his personal feeling, most of the abilities he has come into contact with tend to improve combat effectiveness, such as magic and chakra. Telekinesis is all-encompassing, but it also tends to be practical and interesting, satisfying personal hobbies. Only cultivating immortals is different. Cultivating immortals actually tends to change the form of life and transcend the human body. Improving combat effectiveness is just a byproduct. The effect in this regard is far less than practicing other ways. If you cultivate immortals specifically for combat effectiveness, it is almost like going astray. Even my grandmother is not that kind of cultivator. So Xiaoming highly advocates cultivating immortals and wants to share it with his sister and best friends so that they can also join the ranks of cultivators. Xiaoming himself is only a level 1 Qi refiner, and he wants to pull others into the ranks of cultivators. He really can do it. Zhang Xiaoming, who has dual energy sources, can even transform the spiritual energy used for cultivation. As long as he wants, he can indeed let others start practicing Qi. Of course, the consumption must be considerable, so only the closest people can enjoy it, and we won't tell the ordinary people. Today is New Year's Eve. Lazy House wishes everyone a happy new year and all the best. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 166. Jiang Xiaoming, who returned to his bedroom, was confused by the scene in front of him. WTF? He saw a table in the middle of his bedroom, and it was not an ordinary table, but an automatic mahjong table. With a mahjong table, there were naturally 4 people playing mahjong, and there was also a waiter. That would be fine, but the problem was that these people were too familiar. The one who was in the main seat, with a black robe, a black cloak, pale skin, and sharp fangs, was definitely a vampire count. Opposite him was an alien with a classic image. The whole body was gray and white, the body and limbs were very thin, but the head was very big. And the 2 black eyes with abnormal proportions occupied about 1/4 of the head area, a little gray man. Accompanying him on the left and right were a mecha warrior and a Taoist priest. These 4 buddies were playing mahjong. And the one who served them tea and water looked like Hava Chain no matter how you looked at it. What kind of combination is this? Xiaoming was stunned for a moment, a little dumbfounded. 10 seconds later, he remembered to use telekinesis to observe these guys. If it was an illusion, he should be able to see through it. Unfortunately, even if he used condensation, the scene in front of him still did not change. Could it be that this was not an illusion? But Xiaoming did not dare to continue to use force anymore. The life energy of these people in front of him was so strong. In Xiaoming's telekinetic perspective, it turned out that Hava Chain, who served the bureau, had the strongest momentum. Aliens, mecha warriors, and Taoist priests were slightly weaker, and the vampire seemed only slightly stronger than himself. It was exactly the opposite of their seats. Xiaoming knew that there was definitely something wrong with the results of his investigation. This can only mean that the 4 people playing mahjong can already control their own life energy very well. That's why they appear to be weaker than Hava Chain. And this vampire is probably the strongest one among them. His momentum is quite well restrained. Even being able to see the clues by himself, I'm afraid it's all due to his special source energy. Ordinary reincarnations may not be able to see anything. It is impossible that the 5 people did not notice Xiaoming coming back, but they still ignored him and continued to play mahjong as if no one was around. Xiaoming's attention was completely captured by the people in front of him, and he did not notice that his bedroom was actually several times larger than normal. After a moment of silence, the game ended. Xiaoming clasped his fists and saluted and said, "I wonder if you have any advice for me, seniors, for your presence." The vampire raised his head and looked at him twice. He nodded slightly, but answered the question irrelevantly. "You chose telekinesis, okay. It's great to have reached this point for the first time." As he said that, he gently raised his index and middle fingers of his left hand, and the illusion completely disappeared, and the mahjong table disappeared. The images of the 5 people standing on the spot were also changed. The original vampire count turned into a middle-aged man with an elegant appearance and a slightly darker complexion. He was wearing a white suit and a long scarf around his neck, with both ends almost hanging to the ground. He was quite dignified. Xiaoming doesn't know that this is the costume of the classic character of My Date with a Vampire 2, the Zombie King, Zhang Chen. The alien in the image of a little gray man turned into an octopus-shaped metal robot. As for whether this is the body or the armor, it is unknown. The mecha warrior's mecha is gone, and he is replaced with a military uniform. The shoulder straps indicate that he should be a lieutenant officer. He is at the same level as Xiaoming's other identity Xiao Liang. He looks to be in his 30s, about the same age as the Taoist priest. The Taoist priest also lost his Taoist robe and put on big flowered shorts, t-shirt, and sunglasses. He also has a small mustache. Only Hava Chain has changed to a younger age, about 20 years old, wearing a black long gown and myopic glasses. A standard image of an office worker. It seems to make sense. Hava-chain can also be regarded as a civil servant in a certain system. On Pangu, suits are only a minority. The standard formal wear is still a long gown similar to the tang suit. Of course, the style has also changed a lot and will not look old-fashioned. "Let me introduce you," said the big brother dressed in white when Zhang Xiaoming was confused. "Since you have become a reincarnation, supernatural things will become commonplace for you. Reincarnation is just a part of it." Xiaoming looked at the people around him and felt sympathetic. There are two major organizations of reincarnations on Pangu. At this point, he paused for a moment and continued. To be precise, there are three major organizations. The organization that cooperates with the official governments of various countries is the largest, called the League of Legends. This is the organization I represent. I am the boss of the New Han Kingdom, ahem, the person in charge. You can call me Zhang Shizu. I am a zombie. So you are a zombie? You don't look like one. And why did you pretend to be a vampire just now? Cosplay. Zhang Shizu, the second-generation ancestor of the zombie world. Before Xiaoming finished his inner complaints, Zhang Shizu pointed at the guy in the flowered shorts and t-shirt and introduced. The second organization is the Loose Cultivator Alliance. This group of people always think that the government is unreliable and have a distant relationship with the governments of various countries. They play their own games. This unruly person is the person in charge of this area. You can just call him bastard. How can this be insulting? But when this bastard opened his mouth, Xiaoming almost fell to the ground. My lord, I have been hatched from the egg for 300 years, and you still can't change your mouth. He turned to Xiaoming and said. Just call me bastard. You guys must be kidding me. 300 years later, you still don't know that this is a curse word. Looking at Xiaoming's expression of looking at a fool, Buddy also knew that he was talking too much. He sighed that he had been playing the role of Zhang Shizu for many years, and it became a habit. Then he coughed, concealed his embarrassment, stretched out his hand to Xiaoming, and said seriously. No more jokes. Hello, I am Turtle Hermit, the person in charge of the local area of the Loose Cultivator Alliance. Nice to meet you. Xiaoming hurriedly shook hands with him and said nice to meet you. He despised their bad taste in his heart. Zhang Shizu continued, there is also a group of people who call themselves Truth Society, which is a group of terrorists. I always think that the reincarnations should rule the world, and they don't know how high the sky is. If you meet them in the future, you must be careful. Don't let them fool you. Xiaoming's heart trembled. Sure enough, there is good and there is evil. Although the Truth Society may not be real terrorists, they are definitely not easy to deal with. What about him? Zhang Shizu pointed at the officer. What's your name? Oh, forget it, introduce yourself. You've been playing mahjong together, and you don't even know his name, so you thought you knew each other well. Lieutenant Meng and the other party saluted first. Xiaoming forced himself to hold back and didn't raise his hand to salute back. Meng then said, now I am officially recruiting on behalf of the military. Lazy House wishes everyone a happy Chinese New Year. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 167. Stop. Stop it. Don't use your tactics on our temporary reincarnations. We have an agreement. Seeing Mengan come up with the military's routine of forcibly recruiting Zhang Xiaoming, Wang Ba Dan / Wang Ba Zai / Tui Xianren, they immediately jumped on the bandwagon. Our agreement is not a legal treaty, it is just a reference. This newcomer. Mengan retorted to Turtle Immortal in an official tone. Mengan was halfway through speaking, but suddenly he couldn't open his mouth and couldn't make a sound. He looked at the zombie with a surprised expression on his face. You are not qualified enough to make irresponsible remarks on the agreement, Zhang Shizu said in a deep voice, while raising his right hand slightly. It seemed that he used some means to stop Meng An's words. I know your little tricks, so don't use them this time. He, Zhang Xiaoming, has the freedom to choose. Hearing this, Meng An's expression also calmed down. In fact, he also knew that it was impossible to rob someone in front of a zombie god. The slightly rude behavior just now was just to express the military's attitude and to get the upper hand, lest these two people steal people. We will talk about which side to join later. Zhang Shizu pointed at the remaining octopus robot and introduced to Xiaoming. This guy has a great background. He is, just think of him as from the Interstellar Embassy. He is here to apply for your interstellar passport and visa. Hearing Zhang Shizu's introduction, the robot was a little dumbfounded. Open the visor on the belly. There is a transparent cab/fish tank inside, and inside the unknown liquid is the robot's driver. Don't tell me, it's really an octopus. The octopus spoke in standard Chinese language, and Xiaoming didn't even feel that a machine was translating it. Hello, Zhang Xiaoming from Pangustar, this adult is very close. My organization is responsible for managing long-distance space travel. Translated into Chinese, Interstellar Embassy is almost the same. I am here this time to help you register. Seeing Xiaoming's confused face, the little octopus hit his head with one of its tentacles and quickly explained. You don't know that when the reincarnations of Pangustar traveled to and from the reincarnation space, they crossed several star fields and very long distances. So they must be registered. After a pause, he continued, normally speaking, when you become a temporary reincarnation, the reincarnation space has already communicated with us. You don't need to meet us at all. But this time, for some unknown reason, the reincarnation space did not communicate in advance. So I had to come down and see you. Xiaoming can probably guess why the reincarnation space did not apply for his own passport or visa. They must feel that as a distinguished guest, they should not overstep their authority, as that would easily offend the distinguished guest. Only then did Xiaoming have the opportunity to meet this brother Squidward and learn that there is an organization with such broad control in the universe. Of course, there are countless questions that come to mind at the same time. I really want to find someone to ask. But I felt a will in the dark, suppressing myself and unable to ask those questions. Tracing its origin, 90% of the time it is the Zhang Shizu next to him. What is his strength? What a strong will! Seeing that Xiaoming didn't ask any questions, Brother Squidward was a little surprised, but he didn't care and continued to explain. There are some rules for crossing the star field, which are similar to the rules for going abroad on your planet Pangu. Reporting is required before crossing. But reincarnators do not need to report when traveling to and from the reincarnation space, because the reincarnation space has already completed all the procedures. Others such as not violating local laws, not exterminating intelligent races, etc. These have nothing to do with you reincarnators. The reincarnation space has stricter restrictions on you. We're not worried either. So my visit this time is just a matter of routine, just to register you. Now that the registration is complete, I say goodbye. Before he finished speaking, the octopus robot had disappeared. This was too fast, I didn't even say my name, I just left after saying it. Are you in such a hurry? Won't you stay for a meal? Besides, I didn't fill out the form or sign or seal anything. Is the so-called registration just a meeting? It's too perfunctory. How did Xiaoming know that Brother Octopus was actually running away? According to normal procedures, he should not appear in front of Xiaoming. But the reincarnation space did not register Xiaoming, so he had to come. Basic registration is indeed enough to meet in person. However, he originally planned to wait until the people from the League of Legends, the League of Casual Cultivators, and the military were gone before showing up alone to show off. Unfortunately, he met Zhang Shizu and pulled him out of his invisibility state. Installation of X failed. This guy is so scary. When Squidward faces him, he feels like he is facing a giant monster in the universe and may be eaten at any time. Fortunately, he was just caught playing mahjong together, something he had just learned recently. It's a rare opportunity to play it. It's just that playing mahjong with Zhang Shizu is very stressful. While it's unlikely that he'll eat himself, it's still scary. So at this moment, he hurriedly exchanged a few words with Xiaoming, turned around and ran away. Humph, these aliens always think that our Pango's technological level is too low and look down on us. Teach him a lesson, Zhang Shizu said calmly. Okay, you, the second-generation zombie ancestor, are really capable. Xiaoming was too lazy to complain. I know you have a lot of questions, but don't ask. I'll find out later on my own. It wouldn't be fun to tell you now. Yes, Your Excellency is right. Xiaoming, to be honest, those things have nothing to do with you. You just need to make a choice now. League of Legends or League of Independent Cultivators, Turtle Hermit also echoed. Mengan seemed to want to speak again, but unfortunately he was still muted by Zhang Shizu. Xiaoming looked around, but his eyes fell on the black impermanence who had not introduced himself yet. Oh, he is not looking for you, he is following me for something. After hesitating for a while, Zhang Shizu still introduced him. Let me tell you, he is indeed a civil servant from the underworld, and the souls of the dead in this area are also under his control. Xiaoming couldn't help but wonder, how big is this area? How many people die every day? Can he manage it all by himself? And has the time to follow you? Seeing Xiaoming's expression was different, Zhang Shizu instantly understood Xiaoming's suspicion. This is a clone. The clones of the people in the underworld are no problem. Now you have met him, if you encounter anything related to souls in the future, just tell him. Pangostar also has a, really, underworld. Then should Xiaohong be under their control? No, Xiaohong and Xiaolu are his legal followers. The reincarnation space has stamped it. It shouldn't matter, right? It won't be like Interstellar Crossing, where Xiaoming has to go through the formalities himself, right? Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 168. Xiaoming nodded to Heva Chang, and he nodded in return. He didn't mean to make friends, so it seemed that he really didn't come for him. After asking, Xiao Jing'er and Zhang Wen had already met Zhang Shizu and Gai Xianren. Their decision was naturally consistent with Xiaoming. So Xiaoming thought about it and temporarily chose to join the League of Legends. The three of them joined the League of Legends and became non-staff members. It was equivalent to a probationary period. Temporary reincarnations corresponded to non-staff members, which was just right. In fact, it didn't matter which side you joined at this stage. There were no tasks or treatment. The people from the two major organizations came more to remind the reincarnations, a harmonious society, stay calm and don't be reckless, there are many powerful people. When they are promoted to formal reincarnations, they really need to choose a camp. At that time, there will be more options such as the military. Of course, unless you choose a terrorist organization like the Truth Society, there will only be limited competition between the major camps. There is no strong hostility. After Xiaoming made his choice, the other people who had nothing to do also dispersed. No one gave Xiaoming any identity badges or anything like that. Alas, temporary workers have no human rights. At the same time, Xiaoming's bedroom also shrank back to its original size at a speed visible to the naked eye. Xiaoming was surprised at this time and said after the fact, I was wondering why I always felt that something was wrong with the house. It turned out that it was enlarged. This magical method was performed by the second-generation ancestor in the zombie world. But why hasn't he left yet? Xiaoming's eyes showed surprise. I actually came to Peng Si to urge him to update. Zhang Shizu's face actually showed an embarrassed expression. He is ambushed from all sides. What? Is it true? Xiaoming certainly knows Peng Si, one of the bosses of Long Aotian Studio. He is usually busy and rarely lives in the studio. He has a famous nickname called Underpants, which was given by Brother Wen and others. The reason is that senior otakus know it. He seemed to have something to do and didn't go home tonight. So he attracted a zombie. Xiaoming really wanted to strangle him to death. Peng Si mentioned it before, saying that he made a living by writing. Xiaoming and others did not expect that he was actually a well-known online writer. No wonder he could become one of the bosses. Ambush from all sides. Although he is not a great writer, he is still famous and is good at reasoning works. He digs pits everywhere, a veritable ambush from all sides. But he is also famous for digging pits without filling them. So it is no wonder that he did not tell everyone his pen name, otherwise he would not be beaten once or twice. But digging pits without filling them actually caused a high-level reincarnation to come and urge for updates in person. This kind of thing is really unheard of. After asking, I found out that Zhang Shizu would not meet Peng Si directly, but would only cast some auxiliary or spiritual skills nearby. Let Peng Si be more inspired and more energetic to write. Do you think you are a goddess muse? I surrendered. This dazzling commotion in Xiaoming's bedroom was probably caused by this. Just when Xiaoming, and Zhang Wen completed the novice mission, became temporary reincarnations, and entered the reincarnation space. The top people of the two alliances immediately knew who these newcomers were. Their authority in the reincarnation space was already quite high. So the two alliances started recruiting new people naturally. According to normal procedures, even reincarnations of the level of Turtle Hermit would not show up. It's just a temporary reincarnation. The League of Legends and the Loose Cultivator Alliance can each send a mid to low level reincarnation. But because Zhang Xiaoming met Zhao Yongmeng in Resident Evil 1. So Zhao Yongmeng reported to the military immediately after returning. Things about the reincarnation space cannot be told to ordinary people, but there are also high-level reincarnations in the military. It's okay to report to these people. Zhang Xiaoming also received a certain degree of attention from the military because of the incident of the replica attracting the light spirit. So the military thought it would be better to recruit Zhang Xiaoming's original body into the army. So Lieutenant Mengan was sent to recruit Zhang Xiaoming. If things go well, Mengan might be able to overwhelm the two people sent by the alliance and achieve the purpose of forced conscription. Coincidentally, Zhang Shizu, a senior figure, has been pretending to be a goddess near here recently. Of course, he is also doing other things at the same time. After all, he still has his main job in the League of Legends to do. It was that incident that attracted the attention of the underworld, and sent the clone of Havuchaim to follow him all day. This time, the recruitment of temporary reincarnations in the reincarnation space happened to take place in the local area, that is, Xiaoming, Xiao Jing'er, and Zhang Wen. Zhang Shizu was bored and had nothing to do, so he took this opportunity to tease the newcomers. So it was Peng Si who caused the trouble. The Loose Cultivator Alliance had to make a temporary change and sent Turtle Immortal over. Those reincarnations of the same level as Zhang Shizu were not available. Mengan, a lieutenant, couldn't play in front of Zhang Shizu and was completely suppressed. It was his bad luck. As the saying goes, there is no most unlucky, only more unlucky. Who is more unlucky? It's the alien Squidward. Generally speaking, it's rare for a temporary reincarnation to fail to register. Even if it happens occasionally, it's not a big deal. In the eyes of Squidward's organization, it's just a bug in the control system of the reincarnation space. Usually, they won't find out until weeks, months, or even years later, which is very normal. However, for some reason, in the past 10 years, Squidward's attention was just around here, so he knew it immediately. Since he knew it, he thought he would just do it by the way. So he came to the nearby place in stealth, planning to meet Xiaoming and register when there was no one. In fact, it didn't matter if he didn't meet, but he just wanted to show off. He ended up pretending to be stupid. His ability to be invisible was not good enough in front of the zombie master. He was easily found out by Zhang Shizu. Squidward secretly rejoiced that he hadn't started to show off yet, otherwise he would have lost his face to the alien galaxy. After leaving in a hurry, it is estimated that the area of his psychological shadow is not small. I don't know how capable the alien psychotherapist is. Zhang Shizu didn't want to disturb the lives of ordinary people, so he never took the initiative to contact Peng Si. Now he finally caught a reincarnation who knew Peng Si and could talk freely. The opportunity was rare, so he excitedly pulled Xiaoming to chat. Although Zhang Wen also meets the requirements, there were many people just now, and the zombie master also has to save face, so he didn't show it. Now that everyone else has left, it's a good opportunity to talk to Xiaoming about what ambush from all sides is like. Xiaoming found that high-level reincarnations are the same as ordinary people in chasing idols, and sometimes they do more tricks. Ordinary people don't have the ability to pretend to be amuse and inspire people's inspiration. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 169. The other visitors have already left. In Xiaoming's bedroom, there was one person, one ghost, and one zombie, sitting cross-legged and having a long conversation. His knees hurt. The situation is that Zhang Shizu took the initiative to chat with Zhang Xiaoming. As for He Vuqian, he is a mulberry, so don't even think about driving him away. Besides, he had been a follower for so long, so he already knew about Zhang Shizu's affairs. He Vuqian even took the time to read the novel House of Flying Daggers, but like Zombie God, he also became a watcher. This is really convenient, you can work and play at the same time. The topics ranged from House of Flying Daggers to internet writers, from internet articles to YY, from reincarnation space to the underworld, and we continued chatting until past 5 in the morning. At this time, the conversation has already wandered to whether the zongzi is more delicious, salty, or sweet. I don't know how I got here, but fortunately I wasn't talking about postpartum care for sows. It's getting late, I have to say goodbye soon. Just do your best and just be yourself there. The zombie patted his butt and left with the underworld civil servant, saying something cliché before leaving. It seems meaningful. Looking at the empty bedroom, Xiaoming had an unreal feeling, the prosperity had become a dream. After entering the reincarnation space, it seems that I have been chosen by the goddess of luck, misfortune, and these strange guys suddenly appear. If their origins are true, MD, the water in this world is really deep. Drowned people do not pay for their lives. Xiaoming didn't think they would collectively cheat to deceive him. Are you full? Besides, the momentum of these people is extraordinary, and the abilities displayed by Zhang Shizu are also unpredictable. All these great powers gathered together to find a little person like me. He was flattered by the luxurious lineup. Although he is only taking advantage of it. They came and left in a hurry, and they left so neatly, which showed that they were not taken seriously. While he breathed a sigh of relief, there was also a hint of sadness. It was as if everything just happened was just a dream. Both the sister and the fat man were under spells, and it would take more than an hour for them to wake up. Hope they all had sweet dreams. Xiaoming sat quietly by the window, staring at the dawn sky in a daze. A little white fox squatted next to him, dazed with him. Little did he know that wherever he looked, there was another otaku looking at Pangostar in a daze. Xiao Jing'er and Fatty, who had just woken up, were very excited and held a closed-door meeting with Xiaoming. Xiaoming's experience shocked the two of them. Xiaoming didn't hide anything and told him everything. The name of the underworld and alien embassy is loud enough. While the two were surprised, they also felt a little proud to be among the supernatural. This road ahead can be described as a bright avenue. From now on, I am also extraordinary. One day, I can also. The two of them had sex. At 8 o'clock, when they each entered the game, the confused trio remembered that they had forgotten breakfast. Forget it, just bear with it, just eat more for lunch and make up for it. Magic Planet Adventure Map Wushan Town Huo's Complete Collection Manager's Office. There are 6 players sitting on 6 chairs, and each of them has 3 or 5 players behind them. There are a total of 20 or 30 people. There are many familiar faces among them: Qin Kaiang of the Tang Dynasty, Guan Yu of the Tang Dynasty, a certain mage, and several others. They are all players who took on the escort mission together on the first day of the game. These people are all standing, and the 6 sitting ones are probably their bosses. Xiaoming also paid special attention to the boss of the Datang Guild in the region, Datang Li Yuanji. One of the few level 2 players. But why would any player name themselves Li Yuanji? Even the omens are not good. Aren't you afraid that Qin Kaiyan will do it to you? Complaints are complaints. Li Yuanji's equipment is so shiny, and the equipment of several other big guys complement each other, making people's eyes hurt. Although a little, well, particularly nouveau riche. But the superior person still has the magnanimity. At first glance, he looks like he is treating people. Unfortunately, in the eyes of Xiaoming, who had just seen the zombie god, this momentum was really not worth mentioning. Shopkeeper Huo was introducing the mission to them, and Huo Yingda stood aside like a tower. Even if the player's equipment flashes, it cannot dodge the NPC. Can only dodge other players. Of course, players can also choose to dim the glow of other people's armor. It's just that it's only the early stages of the game, and players will have to slowly explore these features in the future. Let's flash it for now. The Explorer and the 5th level High Priest Lan Yura sat comfortably on the couch, blocking a layer of magic light curtain and peeking at the meeting over there. It seems that I am different from other players. Xiaoming thought with amusement. Completely ignoring the fact that others have surpassed him to reach the 2nd level. The mission is a common routine. In the middle of the Wushan area, in the exploration area of the orcs, a mysterious cave was discovered. The higher UPS of humans and elves were also aware of this incident, and each of the 3 tribes organized troops to go find out. The people leading the team on the human side are, the 3rd level ascetic priest, the captain of Wushan Town's first escort team, the explorer's eldest brother/acquaintance, Huo Yingda. He and the first guards are the NPC troops this time, and other vacancies need to be filled by players. Secretly, Lan Yura and the explorers perform higher-end secret missions of the human race. There is no direct conflict with the players. Of course, there is still competition. If a high-end task is not done well or is messed up, it is not as good as a low-end task. The leaders of both the light and dark expedition teams are NPCs, but the results of the mission depend on the efforts of the players. The elves will also organize a similar team. The orcs have the advantage of home field and numbers. This is a standard plot mission with players participating. This time, the orcs are obviously more advantageous. But the game system is fair, and other races also have missions where their own races are advantageous. In the plot mission of the Misty Mountain Range this time, humans and elves are at a disadvantage. There will be other missions in other places, which are dominated by humans or elves. The biggest variable in this mission is the explorer. Other races have not yet reached such a high position. They will also send out masters in the dark, but they can't be players. They can only be NPCs of the same level as the explorers. Haha, NPCs less than level 2 can probably only give experience to explorers. In the misty mountain range, an unnamed peak rises into the clouds. The orcs originally occupied a relatively safe area nearby. But because of the appearance of the mysterious cave, both the human race and the elf race forcibly occupied a corner as temporary bases for each expedition team. It's really nice, right? When there is no interest, everyone is polite and everyone can get the Good Citizen Award. As soon as the interest emerges, they immediately turn hostile. Even unknown interests are no exception. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 170. A mountain is not famous for its height, but for the presence of immortals. A water is not famous for its depth, but for the presence of dragons. This mountain is magnificent and tall, but it is still unknown. It seems that there is no old immortal living in the mountain. It has not been as lively as it is today for hundreds of years, thousands of years, or even tens of thousands of years. Guests from various races, totaling more than 1,000 people, have gathered within this area of 100 miles. Is it possible that a phoenix has landed on the mountain? Or is it that a treasure has been born? Is it possible that a young man is holding a concert? Of course not. Several peaks nearby are located at the intersection of the spheres of influence of the three major magic beast tribes in the Wushan Mountains. It is both a place of right and wrong and a no man's land. The location is very special. If it were a divine beast, it would generally not stay here, and it would easily touch sensitive nerves and be besieged. Instead, the low-level troops of the three major races come and go freely. It is because the three powerful magic beast tribes do not take them seriously at all. With the harassment of many low-level magic beasts around, the three major tribes can barely stand firm. But this can only be a stopgap measure, and you have to leave after a few days. If you stay too long, it may cause dissatisfaction among the more powerful monster tribes. As for whether there are treasures, just looking at the fact that the monsters have no reaction, you know that even if there are treasures, they are not important. However, some things are not attractive to monsters, but they have indescribable value to the major civilized races. This is why the three major races come here to compete. They think there are such good things here. The three major races have professionals like prophets, and they did not decide to send an expedition team casually. At the bottom of the mountain, within the human race's sphere of influence, a not very large military camp has just been built. Xiaoming, who has led the army for a few days on the strategic map, is not unfamiliar with the military camp. Of course, on the strategic map, the army's camping is automatically carried out by the system. Players don't have to do anything. If Xiaoming is asked to command to build a camp by himself, he will definitely be at a loss. After a few days, he is just familiar with it. This military camp of the human race at the foot of the mountain is a little simple. But the sparrow is small but complete. The military tents are neatly arranged, the walls are strong, and the horses, baggage, food, and fodder are all in their own places. Everything is in order. The surrounding walls are actually made of stone. There are deer antler wooden fences outside the wall, and several deep trenches have been dug. There are many guard towers inside the wall, and each is guarded by elite soldiers. Some draw their bows and arrows, while others hold spears and spears. There is no slackness. Xiaoming, an outsider, admires him very much. Lan Yura did not comment. There are about 200 to 300 human soldiers in the camp, roughly divided into 4 groups. Among them, the more than 100 people with neater armor are the Wushan town guards, led by the third-level ascetic priest Huo Yingda. In addition, there are 2 acquaintances leading another team of dozens of people. I believe everyone can guess that they are the captain and deputy captain of the Huo family Chamber of Commerce guards in the escort mission. When they fought against the Wolf Cavalry, they were the 2 leading the team. It was natural for them to follow this time. The dozens of people they led seemed to be the Huo family guard team at that time. The dozens of people who were more than that were the players. Although they were few in number now, if the mercenaries in the tent were pulled out, the number would increase tenfold and even turn. There were no mercenaries accompanying them at this time, which was also limited by the task. Huo, the shopkeeper, mentioned it at the meeting just now. But this brother didn't come. The last group had the least number of people, only 7 or 8, all between level 2 and 3, with various professions. It seemed to be an elite team. Lan Yuro once told Xiaoming about them. This group was from the non-ascetic faction in Wushan town. They came to try their luck. If they were completely excluded, the ascetic monks and the Huo family chamber of commerce would not look good. Besides, based on strength alone, they would not account for the majority. What if they were really lucky and got the best result? At that time, Xiaoming couldn't help but ask one more question. Then accept it? No one can stop luck. We just do our best and leave it to fate, the high priest answered quite easily. Xiaoming thought about it, and it was right. The human race was originally at a disadvantage this time, and the external pressure was enough to offset the internal differences. There were 4 caves, 1 large and 3 small, within the range guarded by the human camp. These were obviously the entry tickets that the human race had grabbed. Going deep into these caves, there would be a chance to find things coveted by various races. For the first large-scale task in which players of multiple races competed, the system was not designed to be a scene where thousands of people competed for one thing. According to the information conveyed by the top management, that is, what Manager Huo said at the meeting. There are a lot of things. How much you can get depends on the player's abilities. As long as you are not particularly unlucky, you can get some rewards. It also made Xiaoming's mind full of question marks. What exactly could it be? Medicinal materials? Or magic crystal? Huo Yingda led the first Wushan Town Guard and the Huo Family Chamber of Commerce Guard to enter the largest cave entrance, which is exclusive to NPCs. The other 3 small cave entrances are naturally prepared for human players. You should know that not every cave entrance can lead to the depths of the cave. It is estimated that at least 1 cave entrance is fake. So what is tested at the beginning of the mission is whether the human players can unite and whether they have the ability to reasonably divide the work and cooperate. How to assign manpower? Is it an equal distribution? Or is it Tianji's horse racing? Is it cooperation? Or is it mutual restraint? It all depends on the player's choices. Xiaoming was very interested in seeing what arrangements the human players would make. But the beautiful high priestess didn't have that kind of taste. She raised her jade foot and kicked the explorer's buttocks. What are you looking at? Hurry up! Xiaoming had no choice but to climb up the mountainside. Lan Yura turned her head and silently looked at the military camp for a while, then followed the explorer's footprints. With Xiaoming's current physique, climbing a mountain is not much different from walking on flat ground. The mountains and forests here reminded him of the wilderness in the world of a Chinese ghost story one. The same dense trees, the same vitality, and the same dangers. With Xiaoming's strength, he couldn't move freely in this area. It all depended on the protection of Lan Yura's 5th level strength. Even the 2 high-level shadow warriors that the ascetic monk originally assigned to Xiaoming didn't catch up. It's not that they are not strong enough, it's that Xiaoming can't have the protection of 2 more high-level people in the mission he is carrying out. That would be too unfair to other players. On the contrary, the life-saving spell on the explorer is still effective. Because once the spell is triggered, the explorer will be immediately teleported to the headquarters of the ascetic. It is equivalent to giving up the mission. The only difference is that there is no death and loss of a lot of experience.